Let's talk to Robert in Denver. Hi, Robert.
Hello, Norm. How are you doing?
Hey, Robert, you're Robert Mitton, M-I-T-T-O-N. I know you.
Yep. And I'm calling to let you know that I am actually doing a speaking event next week at a gathering place in Denver that's pretty popular for the last couple of decades, where a lot of activism and everything is done. And it's going to be almost like a 3-hour presentation on the subject of dying with dignity and planning your death. We're going to be showing the Terry Pratchett BBC movie. Then I'm going to be speaking, and then I have a friend, Bart Windrum, who has been speaking on this subject for the last 10 years and has a book out, website about it. And this is going to be done at the Mercury Cafe. That's the Mercury Cafe, downtown Denver on California and 23rd Street. And it's going to be next Thursday, the 22nd, starting at 7 p.m.
Say that all one more time slowly.
All right. Next Thursday, May 22nd, at 7 p.m. at the Mercury Cafe on 23rd in California. We will be doing a speaking event on the subject of dying with dignity and planning your death.
I think that's really awesome. And how are you feeling, by the way?
I am running out of steam, Norm. Last week I went to the doctor, and my blood pressure is double digits over double digits, which is really low, and I'm taking blood pressure medicine to keep my blood pressure up, and it's very low. So I can only do a little bit at a time before I just run out of steam.
Well, Robert, for people who don't know who you are, let me reset very briefly. You called us in December. I was talking about freedom and liberty and what that means. And one of my definitions of freedom and liberty is that we all get to decide when we leave this plane of existence. And if that's somebody with cancer who's in end-stage cancer and they don't have any hope of a cure and they've only got a little time left and they're in terrible pain and they don't want to do any more drugs, they get to say, doctor, my family, everybody, I've had enough. It's my time to go, and I choose to go. Dr. Kevorkian, please hook me up with the line so I can let myself out of here. There are many people who proclaim that they believe in freedom and liberty who would take that choice away from each of us because their religion dictates that our lives must be lived by their demands. That's not freedom and liberty. You called us in December and you gave us your story, which is you don't have cancer, but you have a failing heart. And that really touched a lot of people. And you and I have become friends over the time. You've been on TV. You were on the front page of the New York Times. This all really got you started, and I'm really, really glad that happened. And now, you are, you're getting closer to that date. But you've become really quite a public advocate for death with dignity. Robert, how many states are there now that allow this? I know Colorado does not.
No, but they are starting to work on a bill that hopefully will be voted on this coming November. But there's 5 states: Oregon, Washington, Vermont, Montana, and New Mexico was the latest one.
Can you go to New Mexico, which is not that far from Colorado, and avail yourself of their death with dignity law and procedures?
Well, they actually border Colorado, so I could have 1 foot in Colorado and 1 foot in New Mexico. But no, these laws are written so that out-of-staters cannot actually come in and get this kind of treatment or right, or however you want to put it. You actually have to have residency there and have local doctors working with you for an amount of time that I don't have. So, no.
Is this something that you have spoken with or plan to speak with your state legislators about? And maybe you're there in Denver, that's state capital. I mean, visit the state legislature and talk to them about this, maybe testify on the bill?
I have actually spoken to Diane DeGette's office, and I do need to speak with the other offices that are local here for Denver, both local, state, and also, national. I've tried to get a hold of the senators, but I have not been able to get an appointment yet with them.
Well, I would be focusing
on a national issue as well as a state issue.
For your needs, though, I'd be focusing on the local. I wouldn't focus on the Denver City Council. I'd be talking to the state legislature. So you've got a state senator, and what do you call the other house of the state legislature in Denver? Those assembly members, House representatives. Every state calls them something a little different.
House representatives.
All right, so you've got a House representative who represents you in the state legislature. I'd be talking to them because this really needs to happen on a state-by-state basis. Washington, D.C. is gridlocked. It is paralyzed. And there is nothing this controversial is going to get anywhere near enactment into law. Not with the Bible thumper saying, "Oh, no, only God gets to decide when you leave." And then they immediately turn around and say, "You're taking away my freedom and liberty." So, Robert, you've got to work in your state, and you're there at the state capitol. So I think that's really the way to go. Now, Robert,
yes, you're right.
When your time comes, how are you going to do it? I mean, that's kind of a morbid question, but I'm sure a lot of people are wondering.
Well, I really would like to be able to do it like you do in illegal states and take Nebutol. Which just basically puts you to sleep, and that's how Peter Smedley in the BBC documentary actually goes down, and it's filmed on the documentary. But I am not able to get this. I mean, Rachel Maddow's talking about how tough it is right now, where the prisoners cannot even have sodium pentobarbital. So I'm going to be using a different method, something that's been recommended by Final Exit and Derek Humphreys, and I'm going to be using helium. It's a clean, inert gas, and it's like a substitute. Well, it's not a substitute, but it will substitute the oxygen, and I will be like in a coma in about 3 minutes and gone in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And so this is how people are exiting when they don't have the right drugs to do. And it's not as dignified a way to go as I would like to go. I'd rather not do that, but it's not the only choice I have.
Well, it's hard for me to have this conversation and not sound like I'm trying to have some fun with it, because I'm really not. It's way too serious a conversation. But I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman overdosed on a whole bunch of drugs, including heroin. My guess is, and he's not here to tell us about it, my guess is it was a very pleasant exit. I mean, I've never injected heroin. I've never snorted heroin. I've never touched heroin. I wouldn't know it if I saw it. But, if you were, and obviously heroin's illegal, but they're not going to be able to arrest you. So if you were able to get some heroin and maybe some OxyContin, I mean, there are cocktails that you could create and inject them into your, I mean, look, this is the thing I don't get about the death penalty, is we have thousands of ways of killing people, and we seem to be doing it very effectively each and every day. And yet when the state actually wants to impose the death penalty, it can't seem to do it right, which I find amazing. Why not just use the Philip Seymour Hoffman method?
That's a good question. But I've heard overdosing on heroin is not a very pleasant experience, and I have no knowledge of it firsthand.
Well, that's a good thing. You don't want to be a felon. Well, Robert, I appreciate the call. I'm really glad. Let's reset this for people just in case they missed it. Thursday, May the 22nd, that's at 7 p.m. at the Mercury, what is it called? Mercury
Cafe, the Mercury Cafe.
The Mercury Cafe. It's on 23rd and California, right?
Correct.
In downtown.
Yep, downtown Denver.
All right,
it's
Robert.
It's a meeting place for decades.
Would you call me when you're done and let me know how it goes?
Absolutely, and I may be able to shoot you a DVD, too, because it's all being filmed.
Absolutely.
Well, I would love to see it, and I'd love to get it. So, Robert, thank you so very, very much. Good luck, and good luck with your health as long as it'll hold up. 1-888-321-6001. If you don't know about the whole Robert Mitton story, M-I-T-T-O-N, you can go check it out on Facebook, because he designed our apps. I mean, Robert and I became friends, and he designed apps on our Facebook page, and there's one for Robert right there at the Norman Goldman Show on